Oh, somebody specifically had questions about the tonification and sedation
Right.
technique.
So
So let's talk about that because you have 2 points that you tonify and you have 2 points that you sedate or drain or reduce
whatever
or
language
whatever.
you want to use, because we can't understand which one you want depending on the book.
And that's so annoying that whenever I make notes, I have to have like 4 different translations of everything just because. Anyway, whether you're sedating, draining, reducing, versus tonifying or
Supplement.
supplementing, um, what techniques do you use to do that? Is there a standard technique? When Saam came up with this, did he have certain ideas in mind, or is it just whatever you feel like doing? Is it you just think happy thoughts and that's tonifying?
Actually,
Or
you're not wrong about the happy thoughts being tonification.
I love this when I say sarcastic things and you're like, actually.
Actually, so this is where it becomes a fun thing with this. Now, me personally, I can say I am energy efficient, or I could say I'm lazy, whichever one you prefer, right?
Yeah.
And I end up using the meridians in a way where I will go against the meridian for sedation and tonify with the meridian. That's my general praxis
Yeah.
of how I would do Saam or four needle technique. Now, I know some people will be like, well, what about those other 24 techniques?
We learned like inhalation versus exhalation, clockwise versus
Clockwise, scrolling,
counterclockwise.
lifting, right? You
Yeah.
know, there's a lot. And again, I go with a KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
So if the meridian does not get a effect, which I would expect within 2 minutes, that's my timeline. It's 2 minutes when I put the needles in that they feel something different happening. So it's not like I'm not trying to hit the dirty. A lot of people would say you must hit the dirty to get results. I'm like, no, I
Yeah.
just want the result. That's all I want. They got shoulder pain. Shoulder pain's gone. Great. It's dropped X
Yeah.
amount of numbers. Like let's just say on average for myself, it's about a 3 to 4 drop at the minimum.
Okay.
Usually I could hit about 6 or 7, right? And then people are floored. It's like, why did I go to these other practitioners? I'm like, I don't know, but you're here now. Congratulations. You made it past the door. So this is where I usually will use just the meridian directions with the needles. However, I will also just do twirling where, clockwise or counterclockwise. And that's about the extent of my techniques, right? Because you don't want to be doing like manipulation techniques on the nail bed for Jing Wells. You don't want to be doing that on the wrist by your friggin' like vessels there. You'll bruise up, right? So this is where I tend not to do a lot of stimulatory techniques at all. However, just because I'm putting the needle in does not mean that I am not trying to engage the De Qi through Qigong, right? Because this is where the cultivation practice comes in.
Yeah, and this is one of those things where I feel like I just think logically, because we have so many different techniques that work, is it actually the technique or is it your chi that's actually doing the work rather than the technique? And the technique is just there for
I think it's
show.
a training tool mostly. At the end of the day,
No.
it's a practitioner working with a client, and the practitioner needs to have good chi to do the technique to get a stimulatory effect. So, for example, why can I work with clients distally and not have to do needles? It's because it's energy work at the end of the day. So, this is where we have to understand a fundamental question where a lot of people don't like answering this. Do you believe in Chinese medicine as energy work or don't you? Because if we're talking about chi, fundamentally, if you train in energy work, you don't need the needles. If you do need the needles, well, then that's okay. You're using a physical component of density to manipulate a physical point on a body to get effects. However, if trained in energy work well enough, you don't need it at all, and that's a training tool. So this is where the techniques where you're stimulating, like you're putting a needle down and burning the mountain technique, and you're going, I think it's like a drill of like what 9 or something like that. It's like you're
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
down. What's that physically doing? You're causing friction to go in the body, and the friction causes heat. That causes a stimulatory effect of the chi or the nerves, whatever you want. It doesn't matter. And then at that point, you're going to get a reaction that is warming. Okay, great. You could just probably do warming energy techniques and get the same effect, right? So this is where there's a lot of nuances within the Qigong and energy work that you don't need these, but these techniques train you subconsciously to understand what's happening.
And so before, when we talked about the 4 needles, it's so the two techniques we learn are based on the sheng and the
Mhm.
ke cycle, but you talked about another warming and cooling
Yes.
method. That's another thing I've never heard of. What's the deal with warming and cooling using
So
4 needles?
with tonification and for sedation, those are pretty straightforward. That is talking about a
Yeah.
depletion of volume. But remember, we also have temperature, which is heat or cold. And you'll see that in herbs quite a bit. They're like, it's a cooling herb, it's a
Yeah.
hot herb, it's a warm herb. So
Yeah.
that's where we're actually mirroring that within acupuncture. So with those general techniques, you are usually doing something to the child, and you're usually using warming techniques, which is you're increasing fire points on the meridian, and then you're going to replicate that to the child.